to a new future, which is what Greenworks NYC is an invitation to find like-minded journeyers and go from here to a new future that is distinctly different than the past. You're going to hear some notions about community, business, leadership, change. And that is our hope and our aim for inviting you to step in here today at the launch of Greenworks NYC.
My name is Rick Ulfick. I'm the founder and board chair of We the World. And just give you a little bit of context about We the World. Our organization has been around for a little over 10 years. And basically, we are a collaboration for a livable future. And we're working with many different groups, locally and globally, to create a world that works for all. And I want to tell you about something that's coming up in September that the Greenworks NYC project is also connected to. It's called 11 Days of Global Unity. It's something that we've started in 2004 that brings together groups and individuals around the world to create a culture of peace and a sustainable future. So the idea for Greenworks NYC really was born out of something called the Global Water Campaign that We the World did with the support of the Communications Coordination Committee for the UN. And so in the course of thinking about the environment and what's needed for the crisis that we have on the planet, this is one of the ideas that came up, and there was a lot of gravitation towards this idea, and now here we are at the launch, so thank you. It's the Communications Coordination Committee for the United Nations. So I'd like to introduce Noema Chaplin, Jerry Spivak, Linda Misick-Falkoff, and Rick Ulfick. I'm also involved.
We represented Communication Coordination Committee to the United Nations. This organization's one of oldest organization in United Nations. And as you can see from the topic of this name, how we can create effective communication on different levels. Misunderstanding caused conflict everywhere. And if we will create effective communication, we can create peaceful world.
What we're finding with the new economy, with the green economy, et cetera, is that those who have traditionally been left behind continue to be left behind. We managed to engage the young people, the people of the future. And I heard earlier a discussion about the need to engage younger people, but the fact of the matter is I just read an article that Harvard Business Review put out, and they are saying that it is the boomers and Gen Y who are really going to be pushing the agenda. The boomers are taking a tremendous interest in the environment and the world that we're going to leave our children. I have to say, I'm a member of the boomer generation. And the Y generation is extremely important and extremely excited about the world that they are going to live in and their children are going to live in. So these opportunities to engage the communities in their own language, in their own culture, in their own environment, and bringing these communities together is extremely important.
Joyce mentioned the baby boomers and Generation Y. I'll throw out a couple of thoughts regarding that. Baby boomers, if they're persons born between 44 and 64, are 78.5 million persons born 44 to 64. And they were followed by Generation X, considered all kinds of bad terms like lazy and unfair terminology because they're just smaller. And whether you were the Beatles or Starbucks, for you to succeed, or a new agenda, or a political message, or Ronald Reagan, or Bill Clinton, you had to speak to the sense and sensibilities of these boomers because of their enormous size. Generation X, by the way, after that was 57 million. And their persons born 65 to 85. Well, they're followed by a new generation called Generation Y. And if you count them as 15 years, because you want to call them millennials because you think that's a good word, you're not counting them as 20 years the same way as the boomers. If they're a 20-year generation, 85 to 05, anybody know how big they are? 78.5 million people. Same size as those boomers. Same size, you can't ignore them, they're here. But many demographers believe that those Generation Yers are in fact a 25-year generation because boomers married Xers. That's my case, for example, and we have a baby on the way. And so babies are still being born through 2010. Look at the news clips. About a month ago, here in Brooklyn, we had a record number of births. Okay, so if it's a 25-year generation, does anybody know how big? In other words, the biggest generation was the baby boomers, 78.5 million. Generation Y, if they're a 25-year generation ending in 2010, want to take a guess at how big? 95. Close, 100 million strong. That means they make the baby boomers look small. But what does it mean to this kind of conversation? It means that you need to speak to their values and their sensibilities. And it means you need to speak the way they speak. Our president talked to them on their phones. He digitally connected with them. And I think the history books are going to conclude that this president was one of the first great things that Generation Y inspired and did.